He thought it was a normal hornet's nest until experts took a closer look. It began as a sound, a faint, intermittent buzzing coming from somewhere inside the walls of his attic. Tucker Landry, like most of us would, tried to ignore it at first. But the sound grew, day by day, from a mild annoyance into a constant, unsettling hum, the sound of a hidden, teeming city awakening within his own home. When he finally cut into the wall to find the source, he was met with a sight so monstrous, so alien, that it would trigger an urgent statewide biological alert. He had not found a normal hornet's nest. He had found the first ever established colony of the world's largest and most dangerous hornet, an invasive predator from halfway across the world. Our story begins in Washington State, in a quiet rural home surrounded by the lush green forests of the Pacific Northwest. The protagonist, Tucker Landry, was a man who enjoyed his peace and quiet. So, when a strange buzzing sound started emanating from his attic, he was annoyed, but not overly concerned. He assumed it was a small wasp or hornet nest, a common problem in the summer months. He figured he would deal with it eventually. But weeks passed, and the buzzing did not stop. It grew louder, deeper, and seemed to come from a larger and larger section of the wall. It was now a constant, low-frequency hum that he could hear even in the rooms below. The sound was no longer just annoying, it was unnerving. Finally, having had enough, Tucker decided to investigate. He climbed into his hot, dusty attic, armed with a drywall saw and a heavy-duty flashlight. He pinpointed the area where the buzzing was loudest, took a deep breath, and made the first cut. As he pulled away the section of drywall, he was met with a breathtaking and terrifying sight. It was not a small fist-sized nest. It was a colossal, multi-layered paper structure, a masterpiece of natural architecture that was over 3 feet long and had completely filled the space between the wall studs. And crawling all over its surface were hundreds of hornets, but they were unlike any hornets he had ever seen before. They were huge, nearly 2 inches long, with broad, bright orange heads and a distinct, tiger-like striped abdomen. Frozen in a mixture of fear and awe, Tucker knew this was far beyond his ability to handle. These were not ordinary wasps. He carefully backed away, descended from the attic, sealed the entrance, and immediately called a professional exterminator. When the exterminators arrived, even they were stunned. The lead technician, a man with 20 years of experience, stared at the nest and the giant insects and admitted he had never seen anything like it. Recognizing that this was something highly unusual, they took extreme precautions, donning thick, specialized suits. After a long and tense operation, they successfully removed the entire massive nest. But the exterminators knew this was not a normal case. The size and appearance of the hornets were so unusual that they felt compelled to take the nest and several of the captured specimens to specialists at the state's Department of Agriculture for examination. When the entomologists, the scientists who study insects, analyzed the specimens, their professional curiosity quickly turned to grave concern. They confirmed Tucker's discovery was the first of its kind in the United States. He did not have a normal hornet's nest in his attic. He had a thriving, established colony of the Asian giant hornet, Vespa mandarinia, a species better known by its terrifying nickname, the murder hornet. The Asian giant hornet is a creature from a nightmare. It is the largest hornet species in the world, an apex predator of the insect kingdom. A queen can grow to over 2 inches in length with a wingspan of nearly 3 inches. Its stinger is long and powerful, capable of penetrating even a beekeeper's suit. But its most fearsome weapon is its venom. Unlike a bee, a giant hornet can sting multiple times, and its venom is a potent neurotoxin, a chemical cocktail so powerful that a single sting is described as feeling like a hot nail being driven into your skin. Multiple stings can be lethal, even for people who are not allergic, leading to kidney failure and death. In Japan, the hornets are responsible for an average of 30 to 50 human deaths every single year. The experts informed the shocked homeowner, Tucker, that he was incredibly lucky. Had he disturbed the nest more aggressively, or had the colony been more mature, he could have easily been swarmed and killed. But the danger was not just to Tucker. The primary threat posed by the Asian giant Hornet is to a far more vulnerable and ecologically vital creature, the honeybee. These giant hornets are voracious predators of honeybees. In what is known as a slaughter phase, a small group of just a few dozen hornets can descend upon a honeybee hive of over 30,000 bees and completely annihilate it in a matter of hours. They use their powerful mandibles to decapitate the adult bees one by one, and then they occupy the hive, systematically carrying off the bee, larvae, and pupae to feed their own young. This brutal efficiency makes them a catastrophic threat to the agricultural industry, which relies on honeybees for the pollination of countless crops, from apples to almonds. The discovery of a thriving nest in Washington state was not just a local pest problem. It was a potential ecological and economic disaster in the making. The mystery that now faced the scientists and agricultural officials was a terrifying one. How did this deadly invader from Asia get here? And more importantly, was this nest the only one? The confirmation that the insects from Tucker's attic were Asian giant hornets sent a ripple of alarm through state and federal agricultural agencies. The investigation now shifted from a local pest control issue to a potential national crisis. The giant paper nest, carefully sealed and transported to a secure laboratory, became the subject of a meticulous scientific necropsy. As entomologists began to carefully dissect the intricate, multi-layered structure, the true scale of the threat it posed became terrifyingly clear. The nest was a thriving, reproductive colony, containing not only thousands of worker hornets, but, more alarmingly, hundreds of newly produced virgin queens. These were the future matriarchs of a potential dynasty. The scientists realized that if these new queens had been allowed to emerge, mate, and disperse, they would have each started a brand new colony the following spring. Tucker's discovery had not just uncovered a single nest, he had stumbled upon a potential ground zero for a full-scale biological invasion, catching it just in the nick of time. With the immediate threat from the attic nest neutralized, a new, far more difficult task began: the hunt. Was Tucker's nest the only one? Or were there other hidden colonies already established in the dense forests of Washington state? The Washington State Department of Agriculture, or WSDA, launched an unprecedented effort to find out. This was a search for a tiny, formidable needle in a vast green haystack. They initiated a massive citizen science program, asking the public to help by building and setting up thousands of homemade traps, simple plastic bottles baited with a mixture of orange juice and rice wine, a scent the hornets find attractive. But their most effective tool was a piece of high-tech espionage that seemed like something out of a spy movie. The plan was to capture a live Asian giant hornet, turn it into an unwilling informant, and force it to lead them back to its secret lair. To do this, a team of entomologists would carefully capture a live worker hornet in a net. Then, in an incredibly delicate procedure, they would chill the giant insect to slow it down, and then carefully, using a piece of dental floss, they would tie a tiny, lightweight radio transmitter to its body. Once the hornet had recovered and was released, the team would begin the hunt, following the faint ping from the radio tag with a directional antenna, trekking for miles through dense forests and rugged terrain, hoping the hornet would betray its family and lead them back to the hidden nest. For weeks, the hunt was frustrating, but then, in October of 2020, they got a lock. After successfully tagging a captured hornet, the team followed the signal to a hollowed-out section of a dead tree on a piece of private property. They had found it, the first ever wild nest of Asian giant hornets in the United States. The eradication had to be done with military-like precision. In the dead of night, when the hornets were less active, a team dressed in thick, reinforced protective suits that made them look like astronauts approached the tree. They sealed the entrance to the nest with foam, and then began the process of sucking the hornets out with a specialized, high-powered vacuum. Finally, they pumped the entire nest full of carbon dioxide to kill any remaining hornets. The mission was a success. But the ultimate mystery remained. How did they get here? The genetic analysis of the captured hornets suggested that they were from a population in either South Korea or Japan. The most likely theory is that a single mated queen, a future matriarch of a new dynasty, was a stowaway in a piece of international cargo, perhaps in a shipping container that was unloaded at the nearby port of Seattle. She would have then emerged and found the climate and environment of the Pacific Northwest to be a perfect new home to establish her colony. The story of the discovery in Tucker Landry's attic is a powerful and alarming reminder of how fragile our ecosystems are in our modern, interconnected world. A single accidental stowaway on a cargo ship can trigger a multi-million-dollar, multi-year ecological crisis. Tucker, who had started with a simple, strange buzzing in his wall, had found himself at the very center of one of the most significant invasive species battles of the 21st century. His simple call to the exterminators was the alarm bell that allowed scientists and officials to mount a rapid and, so far, successful defense to protect North America's vital honeybee populations from the wrath of the murder hornet.